Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to do some maintenance pruning on my OG Dwarf Jade, my original gangster. This is really probably my first. You know, the memory gets a little hazy, but I'm pretty sure this is my first Dwarf Jade that I actually bought that wasn't like a cutting from a club. And you can see it's grown pretty well. I have a playlist on this tree. You can go to my playlist section and see previous videos of it, but you know, it's quite shaggy and I feel like it needs some pruning. But before we get started, I want to give you a little background on this tree. This is a very special tree to me. It's really the first tree that I got when I got back into bonsai after having been out of it for, 15 years or so. And, I'd had two small cuttings. They were also just happened to be Portulacaria Afras that, they were doing great. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get back into this. I want to get a little bit more of a tree. So I kind of ordered one online to get a jump on it. And this is the tree that came, although it's vastly superior now to what I got. It was not much of a bonsai. Basically, it had no styling, no pruning. It was just a stick with bar branches sticking out in all the areas you'd expect them to be, but it had never been pruned. And, I really was at a loss as to what I was going to do with it, but I thought, you know what, this tree is saying broom stylish, umbrella, maybe a flat top to me, and so I started down that path. And that was close to 2 years ago now. I've had it out. This will be the second summer that it'll be growing out for me, and I'm pretty sure, I probably got it in the fall, although I can't exactly remember. But anyway, let's hop to it and get to tightening this tree up. So I'll give you a look at the pot here. It's a nice kind of a matte crackle pot, and you see I have my Chinese philosophers there inspiring the tree to grow properly. And I've also got these guy wires down here, and you can see this is a cork bark. It's just starting, I think, to get some corking on it. Now all my other cork barks came as cork bark, so I don't know how long this takes, but I do see some changes. And if we look at it from the top here, you can see it's quite full and rounded and very healthy. Just loves being outside. I've been fertilizing it a lot, but you see we've got some long shoots, and I want to prune those out. It's been really enjoying itself growing, and it's just robustly healthy. This tree has a lot of ramification, which I've been building over the course. It's actually amazing to me in really a year. And it's thickening up, and it's kind of coming along. You can see the base here. I may do something with these roots, not today, but it's got some character down there. I don't know if it's positive or negative, but if we kind of look in here, you can see I've been pruning it so the branches sort of come up and out. And as I look at this, overall, I sort of want to have less ball and more umbrella. So I kind of want to kind of shape it and clean it up. And, hopefully, it's a cork bark, so I'll probably take some cuttings. I'm trying to kind of build up a cache of those to share with people or give away at the club or whatever. And, so that'll also be part of my goal. But if you see my hand here, I kind of want to do that, as a quick idea. And, it's just really thick. And so buckle in. It will no doubt take a little time to sort of work this down to being well pruned. It's very hot here today. And as a public service announcement, I want to share something with you that I've found that helps on those hot days. And here it is. This is it's a non-alcoholic beer. I don't know. My body just can't handle alcohol anymore, so I haven't drank in quite a few years now. But this, I do enjoy the flavor of beer, and I always did, and especially on a hot day. This is fabulous. And you can have a couple of these and It doesn't impair your pruning judgment or anything. So I highly recommend that if you haven't tried that and you are a fan of non-alcoholic drinks. So here we go. Now that I'm all relaxed and refreshed, I will zoom in here and we will start the midsummer pruning. As I mentioned before, if I hold my hands up, I kind of want to go with this shape, right? I want to sort it to be, I want it to be a little wider, a little squatter, prune down the top, and just kind of open it up a bit. You know, you know, you can always prune a tree, just profile prune it and give it a general shape, but I want to see the branches in here. I've been developing quite a bit of ramification in there. And you really can't see much or any of it at this point. So my goal is to, you know, prune this, and I think also pull these branches down a bit because that will help, you know, open it up. And I think actually, you know, it'll sort of impact my pruning. So I think I'll adjust those guy wires first and just pull this down a bit because I think, you know, that'll change the angle of some of the branches from more straight up to out, which is somewhat beneficial. And then also it's going to open up the inside of the tree so that more branches can grow out this way, and that'll help to make the tree sort of wider and squatter because I'm going to prune down the middle section. And, you know, you want to be a little careful when you do this. You don't want to snap it off, so you sort of, you know, loosen the wire and then kind of gently bring the limb down. You know, I'm not moving it too much here, so I don't think there's any danger of breaking it. But, you know, you want to be a little careful of that. Test it a little bit before you crank it down. And I think, yeah, I think we'll bring this one down as well. And this actually works quite well. I mean, the combination to me of like clip and grow and then also pulling a branch or a limb down like this is just very effective. You know, I found that even with like one season of growing, like these tend to sort of stay down once it's put on a little bit of growth. So that looks pretty good for now. I think I'll start doing a little pruning. I can always I probably will once we've pruned and I can sort of see what's going on. I may adjust those guy wires again, but I kind of like to start by just cutting stuff that's just growing, you know, stuff on the inside here that is growing the wrong direction, or, you know, it's just completely not usable or salvageable. And so I'm just gonna take a look at that and try to get anything that's kind of growing out of cracks or crannies or just not going to be useful at all, and, you know, just take care of it right away. I think I am going to adjust this one down a bit more. I don't know if I adjusted this. No, I think I didn't move this one down. So yeah, there we go. I think that is a bit better. Just give it a quick look here and see. Yeah, I think I have all the guy wires about where I want them, and yeah, so I'll start pruning now. First, I'll just take this long stuff off. I really want to reduce the top. You can see it's kind of a nice cutting, and these things root like weeds, actually, especially in the summer. So I'm just gonna zip along here, and, you know, I know that I just want to generally reduce the top, and you know, oftentimes I just like to take it down to a set of leaves, maybe two sets if I want to change the direction of the branch, but most often I just take it down to one set, and you know, as a first rush at it, and then I kind of go in and do some more fine-tuning and branch selection and simplification after that, because it is kind of hard to see the overall shape and, you know, where it's going if you don't take some initial reduction. And you can see there's a fair amount to work with in here. So I do take a look at it, you know, but I know that I really want to reduce the top here in particular because it, you know, it grows so fast. I know it will be right back at me inside of a couple of weeks. And, you know, the reason we do this pruning is You know, everywhere I cut these branches and these leaves, I'm going to get, you know, 2 new branches coming out from that point, and the leaves will be smaller and the growth will be more compact, and there'll just be more finer detail. And it's also a mechanism to, you know, constrain the height of the tree, because I don't want this to be some huge tree. And so, you know, it's just part of the bonsai process, particularly when you're working with a fast grower like this, is you have to just regularly prune it back and then let it grow and then prune it back and keep refining, you know, what you're working on. So I'm going to work on this top centerpiece first, and then I will kind of work more on the outer parts of the tree that we've already, you know, pulled down with the guy wires. As I mentioned, we're in mid-August now, so we're sort of midsummer. And so we've probably got another, I don't know, good 6 weeks of good growth left. So this little tree will have plenty of time to put out some new growth and develop some finer leaves. And so it's really a good time to do this. I found I'd rather do it now in August and then sort of keep at it rather than prune it hard at the end of fall. And then I put these trees under grow lights in the winter, and that works really well, but you know, the growth is not going to be as strong and as tight and as compact as what you get outdoors in summer. So especially with new growth, I'd sort of like to get, you know, a base started here in the next month or so, and then, you know, kind of let it grow out in the summer. And then, you know, if the internodes are too long and the growth isn't as compact as I want, I can just kind of cut it off next spring and start over. Or if it works out well, then, you know, you just keep going, and regardless, it'll all contribute to thickening the trunk and the branches. But I think we're kind of getting the top here. Like I said, this is quite thick, so I'm really coming in and removing everything down to a couple sets of leaves. And you know, this tree had a rough winter. This was one of the ones that was impacted by my automatic watering last year. And so I'm just kind of taking a view here where how I want to style the profile, and I'll just kind of clip this off and almost profile prune it like that, and then I'll come back and do some more finer detailed pruning where I remove branches that are going the wrong way. But now you can see the benefits of having pulled those branches down, because you know, I can really see where I want these to be. And you know, a turntable's great. You can just sort of sit here and sort of turn the tree as you're pruning it, which is something I like to do, and just kind of go around and clean it up. But yeah, this tree had you know, it had I don't know if it was root rot. I did pull it out. I think there's a video of that in the playlist. I'm pretty sure I did a emergency repotting. I pulled this thing out of the pot and checked it out, and you know, did some minor root pruning and put it back in, and then the tree just really just took off from then until now. So I was glad I did do that, but as you can see, it's fully recovered and is very healthy again now. But it's really in I don't know, roughly 2 years I've been working with succulents and portulacarias now, I can tell you that is always the thing that gets you into trouble, is too much watering. So here I'm really leveraging that turntable, and I'm just going around and sort of profile pruning as my first cut at this to get it under control. And you know, this is often how I do it when things are a bit overgrown like this. Just, you know, don't think about it too much. If you don't like it, cut it off, shorten everything back to 1 or 2 sets of leaves. And by doing that, you'll see the branches that just really have to be shortened or go as well. You know, another thing about these dwarf jades that's kind of interesting is that there's a bit of a controversy about, you know, what is a Frank Yi cork bark dwarf jade and what isn't. And, you know, and it's hard to track, you know, where these things came from. Now, I bought this one from Eastern Leaf as a Frank Yi cork bark, so I'm quite sure that it is. But I've also seen people with, you know, kind of corky looking trunks, and hey, they're still fabulous trees, but whether they're, you know, I don't get too hung up on whether it's Frank Yi or not. I try to use the right terms and only call it a Frankie if I know that it's from a descendant from one of his trees. But you know how these ports just are propagated so easily that I'm sure there are just vast numbers of Frankie cork barks where people don't actually even realize that they are. But you can see the profile pruning is going well, and we will look at next steps here. So the other thing I wanted to mention about the cork barks is, the other controversy is, hey, it doesn't look like a cork bark. And the issue there is it can take these things, and I mean, I've heard different estimates, but it can take, years for the corking to appear. So the best way to get an instant cork bark is, to take a larger cutting that's already corked, and then it sort of maintains that corking. And I'm pretty sure most of the ones that I have, that, in fact, I know a couple, one that I bought was just a large cutting because it basically had, one tiny root kind of coming out of the bottom when I got it, and I grew it from there. But yeah, otherwise you have to wait, I don't know, maybe an indeterminate amount of time. I mean, I've heard some people say, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years. It can take a while. So if you want that guaranteed corking, go with one that's already showing the corking, I would say. Although, like I said, this one in particular, I definitely see a difference in the texture of the bark. And, I think when I got this tree, from looking at it, I think it was just a very kind of grown in a very large pot and just let go wild. So it probably wasn't that old. But, it's hard to know how old these are, but I'm going to say this one is maybe 5 or 6 years. So it's probably maybe about right for it to start corking. So I'm cooking with gas here. I tend to, as I'm jabbering on, I really just start cutting. And just to tell you what I've been doing, anything that's kind of growing, into the tree, I tend to take that off. If it's growing straight up, I take that off. Straight down, I take that off. If it's too crowded, you definitely want to go from 1 branch to 2 branches. You don't want to go from 1 branch to 3 branches. Or if it's just something that you don't like the looks of, I take it off. And this tree doesn't really have an exact front. I think it sort of looks similar from all angles, and that's part of what I've been trying to do with it. So it is a good tree to prune on a turntable, because you sort of want to, at least my goal is to sort of maintain that decent look, from any angle. So you can see, I think, that I'm starting to thin it out a bit, and one of the ways you can tell that is you can see some of the branching and the ramification I was talking about, because ideally what I want to do is, get rid of some of these old leaves and some of these coarser, larger leaves, and really allow, not only so that I can see the branching, the ramification that I'm building in the branches of the tree, but also allow light to go in there, right? Because I've sort of pulled down the lower branches, and I really want, more light to get into the tree to give me more branching, and to have, more of these branches kind of come up and out to form a nice, eventual solid canopy. But for now, I'm really just concentrating on, cleaning up the structure and getting light to the inside of the tree. And, there's a lot of branches on here, so I'm probably not going to get it, perfect. But we'll get it good enough to move it further down the line and continue the development of the tree, for sure. Along those lines, I've got quite a bit of branch ramification on this tree now. And I've been thinking about, I'm not going to do it now, I'll probably do it in the spring, of just defoliating it completely. I'm a huge fan of Nigel Saunders, and I've seen him do this to his trees, and I think also I think he has a video where he did that to his Portulacaria Afras, and it really helps, because then you can really see the structure and clean up the structure, and these things bud out so quickly if they're healthy that, you'll get a complete flush of new growth. And I think it would just be fantastic. Because, any tree, even like deciduous trees like maples, any tree that grows very thickly, it's very, very hard to see the structure when you have branches on the tree. And if you don't correct that periodically, the structure just goes completely sideways and can become very hard to salvage. So, yeah, I think this tree, sometime in its kind of near to midterm future, I think it will be the first one I just completely defoliate and really get a look at all these branches and ramification that I'm building, so that I can, simplify it and really make sure that it's on the the right track and where I want it to go for the tree. It's not it's not absolutely critical. You can sort of see it without doing that. I mean, I think even as I've been thinning this out, I'm sure you'll agree, you can see a lot of branches, but it's hard to get the complete picture, and it's very easy to miss things when you just have all these leaves and all this green mass foliage kind of hiding the branches. So I'm going to continue to apply the principles I've already discussed and fast forward a little, because I think I have a fair amount of, I sit here and I see a leaf I don't like and I take it out, and I turn the tree 2 inches and I do that again and again, and I keep going around. And, I just love the process, but it does take some time. And so I'm going to fast forward a bit, and then I'll bring you back in when I'm quite close to being to the end of that. So I've been very busy working, one leaf at a time, one limb at a time, and my general shape is starting to come together. I still think I can do a fair amount of thinning on the top and some of these side areas, and really just sort of take it down even further and get it ready for its next, month and a half of growth before fall comes on. So I will continue doing this and check in shortly. So I think I'm just about done. You can see I've taken a bit off the top here, and you can really see into some of these areas. And typically what I'll do is stop at a point where I'm reasonably happy, which I think I'm quite close to that here, and then let it sit for a day, and then come back and nip off a little bit more that I didn't quite see the first time. But I think we've accomplished the goal of kind of getting it under control and just pruning back to a couple sets of leaves, and opening it up so the sun can get in there, and we can get even more ramification, and having pulled down those outer branches, created some space for new growth to come in and for light to get in there and spur that onward. So I think that's about it for the pruning. I'll grab my tweezers here and clean up the base of the tree. I may want to, let me do that first, and we'll see. I may want to adjust these guy wires down and pull them down a little bit more. I see as I kind of pull on that left branch, I think it'll look better if I lower it a bit. But I'll clean this up, and while I'm doing that, kind of a good thought for the day, I think, is this idea of, how do I want to say it? Revisiting the past, whether it's a hobby or, having lunch with an old friend, or reading a favorite book, or even listening to some music that you used to like. There's so many things in our lives that we enjoyed, previously. And, sometimes we forget about them, or we feel like we've moved on, and it really pays to revisit some of these things because, we've changed, and also they've changed, and it can really be kind of a rediscovery of something that's super, super exciting to you. I mean, for me, I was out of bonsai for many, many years. And, in the 25, 30 years from when I first started, YouTube wasn't around, clip and grow wasn't really a thing. Portulacaria Afra succulents, nobody was was doing that, you know, with bonsai. So, you know, it's changed so much, you know, like, but you know, when I was doing it, you had to get all your information out of books and going to clubs. And now it's just incredible how much it has changed over time. And, you know, clip and grow, you know, you wired everything at least once, you know, and then you positioned everything into place. You know, I don't know if I don't think I'd even heard the term clip and grow back in those days. I mean, I'm sure it was a thing, but it certainly wasn't as popular as it is now. And so, you know, it's always a good idea. You know, maybe there's a hobby or someone you haven't talked to for a while. You know, I think it makes sense to revisit things that we once loved. And so let's take a look at this. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, as I said, I think we've really done some positive changes to it. And let's take a look at what was cut off. You know, it's a fair amount, just a bunch of tiny cuts there. And, you know, it's looking pretty good, but this one branch on the left is, you know, maybe it just looks straighter because we have pruned a lot of the foliage out of the way. But I think I might want to bring that one down just a bit before I call it quits and put this tree back in the bench. And I think I'll do that because I think that just opens it up a bit and just looks a bit better. So let me loosen this up and we will pull this one down and then have a final look at it. Yeah, that's a pretty good pull from what we had before. And I think that will look better. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. I think it opens it up even a bit more. I actually could bring it down a little further, but I'm not going to do that now. We will let it get used to where it is, and then, you know, perhaps pull it down a bit more once it's gotten used to its current positioning here. But yeah, I think it looks fabulous. Really happy with the result. And, you know, with that, as we take a little spin here, I want to thank you for spending time with me. A lot of pruning today, a lot of patience, and, you know, that goes hand in hand with bonsai. And I want to thank you for spending time with me. And as we do the final spin, I look forward to seeing you next time very, very soon.